For the record, this matter is before the court this afternoon on the plaintiff's motion for possession of the minor child. This hearing is being conducted via Zoom. Present is Attorney Carmen Moyer, standing in for Kim Kuhn this afternoon, representing the plaintiff John Murphy III. Mr. Murphy is present. Is Catherine, Olivia, Avery Douggo present in audio? There's that she is not. Good afternoon, Ms. Moyer. Have you had any contact with Ms. Avery Douggo at all?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. No, we have not. And the last time my client had any contact with the defendant was May 7th, when he was able to FaceTime his child. He believes that the child was in a hotel room. We believe that that mother has fled the state to Nevada because that's what she told father she was doing. That's what she told the process server she was doing. And she uses the same Kroger discount card that my client does. And there has been recent activity in Nevada on that card, that Kroger card. So we believe she's fled the state, Your Honor.
Right.
She was personally served on April 12th at her home in Toledo, Ohio. At the time that she was served, she refused to release the child, even though your order stated she was to immediately return the child. My client was present in the vehicle. There were 3 police officers present as well. She was verbally hostile, told the service of process that she was moving, and we haven't heard from her since. The last time my client has seen his 3.5-year-old daughter was April 9th. The parties were never married, but there is an acknowledgement of parentage. The child was born here in Michigan and in Wyandotte at Henry Ford Hospital in September of 2022. The parties resided together in Wyandotte until mom relocated to Ohio in July of 2021. My client has been the primary caregiving parent since that time. The child has lived with him, has a bedroom and a home with him, has all her own stuff there in dad's house. Dad had probably about 90% of the overnights. There were no prior court orders until you entered the ex parte order on April 12th to return the child immediately to dad, and mother did not. So we're asking the court, and I actually, Your Honor, I know I'm talking a lot, but I wanted to get this all on the record. I drafted a proposed order which grants my client sole legal and physical custody of the child temporarily, has the standard language about not changing the domicile, and authorizes law enforcement to arrest the defendant for violating your order and to pick up the minor child and return him. I drafted it in a particular way to establish the jurisdiction of this court and address the issues of notice and opportunity, because I suspect we may have to try to track her down in Nevada and register this order and have it enforced there, unfortunately. So I think Ms. Andres has attached a copy of that order to the recommendation, and that's the order I'm asking the court to enter.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Moyer. I think you've answered one of the court's questions, and I did not know until just now that Mr. Murphy was unable to secure possession of this minor child. The court would note that, for the record, that ex parte order was entered by Judge Lohmeyer in this court's absence on April 12th, which prohibited the defendant mother from moving more than 100 miles away and placing the child in the plaintiff's possession. The court file reflects that a copy of that, the notice of hearing, was mailed to Ms. Avery Douggo on Greenbrier Road in Toledo. Was that mailing returned as being undeliverable?
It was not.
You suggested that she was personally served by someone?
She was personally served by Davison Investigations. Walter Lovell was the agent who served her. And Your Honor, they may even be available to testify, because I originally asked them to be present today, but then was told we probably wouldn't have time for witnesses. But I do have a copy of their investigation report. And for the record,
I need proof of service, Ms. Moyer. I need proof of service. None in the court file.
Oh, I sent the entire report to Ms. Andres, which has the proof of service attached at the last page of that report.
It needs to be filed with the county clerk. Proof of service needs to be filed with the county clerk, makes in the court file. Sent to the front of the court is not sufficient. So all the court file contains is a proof of mailing of the ex parte order and notice hearing for today's date to Ms. Avery Douggo to an address in Greenbrier Road, Toledo. And no indication that the ex parte order was ever served.
I apologize, because the report says that the process server filed it with the court. So that was our oversight, and I apologize for that. And we can get that. I'm going to see if I can get somebody over there today. But I don't know if the court would allow it, but I can read directly from the report on how she was.
No, I need something in writing. I need an affidavit of service for the court file. Reading something on the record is not sufficient. Where was Ms. Avery Douggo? Where was she served? In Toledo, Ohio?
She was served at her home at 2 Road in Toledo, Ohio at 7:15 p.m. on April 12, 2022 by Walter Lovell. He was the agent.
Was there some reason why law enforcement did not get involved at that time to deliver possession of the child to Mr. Murphy?
She was being quite aggressive and hostile, both her and the maternal grandmother. They were following the police officers around and verbally assailing them. So Ms. Avery, the report states that she finally did take the papers, and Mr. Lovell informed her that if she failed to adhere to the order that she could be arrested for parental kidnapping. So she was well aware of the consequences of refusing to turn over the child.
This order, again, signed by Judge Lomar, this court's absence said law enforcement should be present if necessary. And I'm just trying to understand why Toledo Police Department they were not called at that time.
That is a good question, because it was Patrol Officer Nathan Millam, badge number 2951, Patrol Officer Jeffrey Inslee, badge number 2940, and Scott Park Station, Toledo Police Department. So there were officers there on scene. I mean, my client could testify because he was also present.
I understand. I'm just trying to understand why law enforcement wasn't involved to actually take possession of the child and deliver the child to Mr. Murphy. So we don't know where she's at. You think she's out west somewhere. Who owns the home on Greenbrier? Was it Miss Avery Douggo's mother's home?
My client is shaking his head yes, that it belongs to the maternal grandmother.
All right.
Mr. Murphy, how long had the defendant been residing at the Greenbrier address with her mom prior to this incident?
I don't have an exact date, but I would say around 8 months.
Right. Miss Andrus, does the front of the court, are there any other files open involving Miss Avery Douggo? The name is familiar.
Let me look, Your Honor.
I can actually answer that question.
Cases? She had other children with other fathers?
Yes, she does.
Yes,
Okay.
and I can give you the case number.
Well, I'm just wondering what address the front of the court has on file for her, those other cases that are open.
Your Honor, the system, whatever it has, for one case, it'll automatically do it for the rest of the cases on our system, but I can double check.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you.
What reflects all the other number addresses?
We have the Greenbrier as well.
Okay, so that appears to be Miss Avery Douggo's address per the front of the court records. Is that correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. All right. Well, the court's satisfied that the copy of the notice of hearing, not the expiatory, but at least the notice of hearing for today's hearing was served upon Miss Avery Douggo, and she has failed to appear. She's not contacted the court. Mr. Murphy, have you tried to text Miss Avery Douggo? Does she respond to any text or communication from you?
I stopped trying once I filed for the ex parte. I was advised not to have any contact.
All right. All right. Right. Ms. Anderson has provided the court fine recommendation. And that the father should be awarded sole legal and physical custody of the 3.5-year-old child of the parties. Mother shall once again turn over possession of the minor child to the father. Both parties are prohibited from removing the minor child from the state of Michigan. Mother shall have supervised parenting time in Michigan by a person mutually agreeable by the parties. And yes, Ms. Anderson, we can, the last sentence is rather than say plaintiff and attorney are requesting law enforcement, we can put language in there that we can eliminate that and say law enforcement is authorized to assist in retrieving the child if necessary. So it's real clear.
Yes, Your Honor.
I suppose the court can enter the order, Ms. Anderson, and also your order, Ms. Moyer. Before doing so, let's take a brief testimony of Mr. Murphy to establish this court has jurisdiction over the minor child. At the time this complaint for custody was filed, the minor child resided in Toledo with defendant mother. Is that correct?
No.
Okay, let's take some testimony. Mr. Murphy, can you raise your right hand to be sworn, please? So, Ms. Moyer, can you voir dire Mr. Murphy, particularly the court wants to make sure that this court has jurisdiction over this minor child, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Murphy, where was your daughter born?
Wyandotte, Michigan.
And on what date?
9/29 of 20.
And at the time she was born until roughly July 2021, where did she reside?
At my residence in Wyandotte, Michigan.
And did the defendant mother reside with you as well?
Yes.
And sometime in July of 2021, did the defendant mother relocate to another state?
Yes.
And was that in Toledo, Ohio?
Yes.
Did you maintain primary custody of your daughter, meaning that she spent 90% of the overnights with you in Michigan?
That is correct.
And have there been any orders entered prior to the court entering the April 12th ex parte order to return the child to the state of Michigan?
No.
And did you and the defendant mother have a verbal parenting time arrangement?
Yes.
And can you explain briefly what that was?
At what point in time?
So let me just ask it this way. Did you have most of the overnights with the minor child, even though mother had some parenting time?
Yes.
And has your daughter ever resided outside of the state of Michigan in her 3.5 years that she's been on this earth?
No.
Did you at some point move from Wyandotte to Temperance, Michigan?
Yes.
And what date was that approximately?
May of 2022.
And did your daughter move with you at that time?
She did.
And you currently reside there today?
Yes.
And when was the last time that your daughter resided there with you?
April 9th of 2024.
And was that the time that mother abruptly announced she was going to be leaving the state and
Yes.
began withholding your daughter?
Yes.
And does your daughter have her own room in your house?
Yes.
Of her toys, clothing, other possessions?
Yes.
And are you the parent who arranges play dates for your daughter, takes her to her doctor's appointments?
Yes.
And has she received her vaccines in the state of Michigan?
Yes. Well, partially in Michigan and the other partial in our doctor in Toledo.
Okay. Have you been the primary caregiving parent for the last 3.5 years?
Yes.
And have there been periods of time when the defendant mother would, for lack of a better word, go missing for days or weeks and you not know where she was?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Moyer, the court satisfied that Mr. Murphy is an appropriate custodian of this minor child and has been actively involved in this child's life, but the court needs to make sure I have jurisdiction. Mr. Murphy, you filed this complaint for custody on April 12th, 2024. Where did your daughter reside? Did she reside in Michigan, Ohio on that date?
On the 12th, well, I live in Temperance, Michigan.
I understand. You've testified that. Where did your daughter live on April 12th of 2024? Did she live with you in Temperance or did she live with her mom in Ohio or did she go back and forth?
Well, she lived with me in Temperance, Michigan.
Okay. At what point in time did she go to her mother's house?
During the days while I was at work.
Okay. So every night during the months of March and April of February, March, January through April of 2024, your daughter slept at your house and just went to her mom's house during the day. Is that your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Was your daughter in preschool at all?
Not yet. Coming up this year.
All right. Who claimed your daughter for tax purposes in the past?
I have.
Okay.
Does she also have insurance through the state of Michigan, your daughter?
Yes. Well, but yeah, she was on Medicaid while I was off of work, and now that I am back full time at work, she's on my insurance in Michigan, commercial insurance.
Mr. Murphy, you alleged in your complaint that you were in ICU for a period of time, and that's when when mother stepped in and took the child. Is that correct?
Partially, yes.
Well, okay.
My mother and my sisters. That was at the beginning of 2023.
Okay, I'm more interested in terms of April of 2024. At what point in time, when did you last see your daughter?
April 9th.
Of 2024?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and your daughter slept in your home the night of April 8th?
Yes.
Okay, and then on the April 9th, mom wanted parenting time, so mom picked her up during the day to go to Toledo, and then it's the last time you saw her, is that correct?
I dropped her off. Yes, sir.
All right, and during the first 3 or 4 months of April 2024, she was receiving insurance through the state of Michigan, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, the court satisfied Ms. Moore that Mr. Murphy, that the minor child was in fact residing in the state of Michigan, County of Monroe, with their plaintiff father. immediately preceding the filing of this complaint for custody, the court accordingly determines it has jurisdiction over the minor child. And accordingly will enter the orders with respect to your proposed order.
Your Honor, I have one correction to the proposed order, just so it doesn't conflict with Ms. Andres. The way I drafted it initially, paragraph number 7, the parenting time should probably just be crossed out because I asked for it to be suspended, but I think I was a little overzealous with that. And the original motion requested supervised parenting for mom in Michigan, and that's appropriate. So I just wanted to make sure we don't have a conflicting conflict there.
All right, so you're asking court to change words suspended to supervised.
Yes, the way Ms. Andres had it. Supervised in Michigan by a mutually agreeable person.
All right, the court will add that language, initial it. And the court will enter the order that you submitted as well as the one that's prepared by Ms. Andrus. So, and all right, that will conclude this matter. Is there anything further, Mr. Moyer? All I can do is offer Mr. Murphy some good luck in hopefully locating her and having law enforcement to wherever she's at to retrieve her.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Your Honor. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. So, Ms. Andrus, you can just modify that. The last sentence you can take out and just reword it to say that law enforcement is authorized to assist in retrieving the minor child.
Yes, Your Honor. I have resent that new one to your queue.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.